Scenes from a Marriage is the new HBO miniseries starring Oscar Isaac and Jessica Chastain. It's based on the 1973 Swedish miniseries by Ingmar Bergman. It's currently playing on HBO Max, so if you have it, please come back to this video after you watch it. It's definitely worth the watch. Today I'm going to be breaking down the first episode, and I'll continue to break down future episodes as they premiere weekly. If you enjoy analytical content like this, please give me a like, comment, and subscribe as it helps the channel grow. Thanks. So with me being completely unaware of the 1973 source material, I found this story to be very intriguing. There are some very interesting dynamics with this couple played by Oscar Isaac and Jessica Chastain that I believe is worth discussing. The miniseries opens up following Jessica Chastain pretty much playing herself as she walks through the movie set to where the first scene is to be shot. When the director calls action, that's when the story actually begins. I like how they decided to shoot this as opposed to just opening up with her just sitting in the restroom. This displays to me that even with marriage, there is some level of performance that we're all held to. I also believe that this is displayed in other scenes throughout the episode. The couple is first seen in their home doing an interview for someone who's putting together a thesis on successful marriages in the modern era. Notice how the windows behind them symbolizes that these two individuals are in their own boxes. Although we learn that this couple's been together for 10 years, there's definitely a level of claustrophobia looming in the background. Even the body language between these two characters is very telling. For the majority of the interview, Jessica Chastain's character sits with her arms folded. This symbolizes a form of discomfort. There's an alternative reason why she feels this way that we find out later on in the episode, but this interview is definitely adding to those feelings. Meanwhile, her husband exercises his dominance by controlling the majority of the conversation, whether that's giving her cues to speak or elaborating on her thoughts. I don't think this justifies who his character is, but more so what his character is trying to portray during this interview. He's smart enough to know why he and his wife are being questioned, however his main concern is making it appear as perfect as possible. Unbeknownst to him, he fails when answering the question as far as what attributes he feels define him.
I'm a father to Ava, who's 4 years old, as you know. I'm an academic. I should have said that first, actually. It's a big part of my self-definition. I teach in the philosophy department at Tufts. What else?
Notice how he does not mention his wife. This is not as telling as the first two things he mentions when answering this question.
I'm a man. I'm Jewish. That's weird, right?
That's so weird.
That's strange. When I went blank, that's the first thing that came into my head.
Great.
In this interview, we learn that Jessica Chastain's character, Mira, has a higher income than Oscar Isaac's character, Jonathan. The Jewish community is notorious for having a reputation of maintaining financial stability, and as the man in the household, traditionally, he should be making a higher income. We can look at Jonathan highlighting these two things not necessarily as his attributes, but two things that he subconsciously needs reassurance on. When Mira is asked the exact same question, she makes it a point to call out their marriage.
I am a woman. I'm married.
Correct.
I am a mother, VP of product management at Horizon. I know that doesn't mean much to most people, but
She's
you know.
a big shot.
Yeah.
Trust me.
Okay, what else? I'm a mother, obviously.
But the most interesting part about Mira answering this question is that she highlights how she's a mother twice, forgetting when she mentioned it the first time. This reveals that her busy schedule in the tech world has taken away her time as a natural nurturer to her daughter. This is shown when their daughter Ava comes in and interrupts the interview. Jonathan takes the lead in handling the situation, leaving Mira to feel even more ill-equipped.
I'm gonna stay with her more.
I got it. So you're in the middle of your answer.
Yeah, but I'm dying to get this over with. Come on.
I know.
We also learn in this interview that Jonathan has always viewed Mira as someone who was out of his league.
So I just went up to him one day after class and I asked if I could talk to him, and he seemed completely horrified.
Yeah, paralyzed.
It's also hinted that Mira settled on Jonathan during a rough time in her life.
I had just come out of a series of relationships which were borderline abusive, and I guess that I was addicted to that, and I was stuck.
This can be seen as some form of regret, as in today's world, settling down is viewed as a sign of giving up. At the time of their union, Jonathan was in a better financial position than Mira was. For her, this sense of security has changed as she's been able to climb the corporate ladder. Later that night, the two enjoyed dinner with their friends Peter and Kate. This is a couple that have decided to have an open relationship mainly due to Peter's infidelities. As tension builds between their friends, Kate reveals that her boyfriend Nathan broke up with her. She's finding this very hard to deal with while Peter just brushes it off as no big deal. This further upsets Kate. This is probably my favorite scene in the show because it displays how men and women handle casual sex differently. For a high-value man such as Peter, casual sex is transactional. There's no emotions tied to it. The same can't be said for a high-value woman such as Kate, who wants to express emotions in this loss.
Through all your shit with Alana, Grace, I accepted that. I dealt with that. And now suddenly when I'm the one that's going through something, it's like my feelings aren't legitimate.
I never fell in love with anyone else. That's the difference.
For the majority of women, sex is an emotional bond. There has to be some form of investment for the person that you decide to sleep with. This is something that does not resonate with Peter. This becomes more apparent as he explains his logic to why him and Kate made the decision to have an open relationship to Jonathan in the kitchen.
You know, when the first 20 years of your life, you're taught to conquer your desires, not surrender to them.
Ooh,
it becomes what?
That's grotesque.
Maybe.
I mean, that level of repression is like from the Middle Ages.
For him, it's about weighing out your options and not feeling confined to a monogamous relationship. Having sex with other women doesn't put any strain on his relationship with Kate. However, with Kate doing the same, she naturally has an emotional bond to whoever she sleeps with, and this is what causes these two to butt heads. Mira takes Kate upstairs in order to help defuse the drama between her and Peter. It's here Kate goes in depth regarding her relationship with Nathan. She even goes into details as far as how she feels this affects her kids in a positive way.
Honestly, in the long run, I think that it's actually very empowering for them to see me always searching for freedom and happiness. I don't know. Self-actualization.
Now, although I can't say that I 100% agree with her outlook on the situation, it does bring up a very interesting perspective. This is a woman who has been deeply hurt and hasn't felt any passion from her husband in over 3 years. And instead of throwing in the towel, she's willing to play his game in order to keep their family together. This need for passion that Kate feels gets Mira to look at her own ideals, or the ideals that she adopted since she's been in a relationship with Jonathan. Moments later, Kate passionately kisses Mira before Mira pulls away. Kate blames this kiss on her drunkenness before the two leave the room, but I'm curious to see if we revisit this in later episodes. It'll be interesting to see if this is something that resonates with Mira, understanding that she is also someone who is longing for passion in her relationship. When Mira and Jonathan go to bed, she breaks the news that she's pregnant. Instead of this being a joyous moment for the couple, it becomes a moment of doubt and self-deception. They reflect on the first couple of years when they had their first child and all the turmoil they went through. They talked themselves into why having the baby would be the best decision for both of them and their daughter Ava before we cut to a week and a half later where Mira's having the abortion. Although Jonathan is distraught, he can't seem to express these emotions to his wife. Instead, he relies on the logical explanation as far as why they're making the right decision.
We talked about it. I don't think there's a single angle that we haven't covered over the last 10 days.
I don't think there is.
He keeps his emotions tucked in even when watching his wife swallow the pill that will end the pregnancy, although how he truly feels is written all over his face. And although Mira understands the logical explanation for the decision they've made, her emotions get the better of her and she expresses how they both feel. And although Jonathan feels the same, he can't bring himself to say it. Instead of expressing his own grief, he'd rather fix the situation. So he says the unthinkable.
I'm sure you'll feel better tomorrow.
It's this statement that makes Mira even feel that much more alone. She calmly asks Jonathan if she can have a moment to herself, where she ends up crying over the grief of her unborn child. I truly enjoyed this episode and I can't wait to see what happens next. I really enjoyed the cast. They did an amazing job. Oscar Isaac is probably my favorite actor in the last 10 years, but this episode belongs to Jessica Chastain. Her body language, her expressions, everything that she says on her face without saying it verbally, it truly carries weight. Again, if you haven't seen this show, it's currently on HBO and HBO Max, so I really recommend that you give it a watch. Till next time, peace.